Tonight on Reporting Scotland, a jury clears a mother of murdering her toddler daughter at their Glasgow home. A former boss of the Edinburgh Tram company tells an inquiry it was held to ransom by the project contractors. Sir Andy Murray welcomes a father for the second time, and his grandmother speaks of the family's joy.
Of course, and all's well, which is the main thing, and lovely baby and little playmate for Sophia.
Also on the programme, Dundee United's new manager is clear about his mission, getting the Championship club back to the top flight. And he wasn't expected to live beyond the age of 2, but strongman Stuart Jameson is now a world record holder. Good evening. A mother has been acquitted of murdering her 14-month-old daughter. The jury at the High Court in Glasgow found the charge against Sadia Ahmed not proven. She'd been accused of smothering her toddler Anaya with a pillow at the family home. Aileen Clark reports.
After a 4-week trial, a young mum leaves court, cleared of murdering her baby girl.
The short time I have got to spend with my daughter Anaya will forever be the most cherished moments of my life.
Anaya Ahmed, at just over a year old. A daughter, a granddaughter, a niece. She spent much of her short life in this house in Glasgow, surrounded by her parents and grandparents, her uncles and aunts, one baby girl, often amid 9 adults. On the 17th of April last year, her mother Sadia stood at the front door and helped their baby daughter Anaya wave her father Suleiman off to work. He was heading for a shift as a bouncer at this pub near Hampden. But as the area filled up with fans heading to the Rangers-Celtic match, Suleiman was battling back through the traffic to get home, alerted by a phone call. Anaya had already been rushed to hospital by ambulance. Anaya Ahmed, just 14 months old, stopped breathing for herself that morning. Her life support machine was switched off 3 days later. The prosecution argued Anaya had been murdered, smothered with a pillow by her mother. A toddler who was a difficult eater, her mother said she choked on a piece of toast while she was feeding her. The jury of 8 women and 7 men took just over an hour to reach their verdict. They found the charge not proven. Sadia Ahmed in the dock listened as the verdict was read out. She looked straight ahead. And then the judge, Lord Matthews, said to her she was acquitted and free to leave. She stood up and walked from the court and then collapsed in loud sobs into the arms of a relative. Anaya's father and his family left court without comment, but later issued a statement saying on the 20th of April 2016, our beautiful Anaya was taken from us. She had her whole life ahead of her, and there is nothing anyone can do to bring her back. Our lives have been completely shattered. After today's verdict, we will need to find a way to move forward, but Anaya will never be forgotten. Sadia Ahmed, estranged from her husband and his family, laid bare her own grief for the daughter she will never hold in her arms again.
I loved her more than anything in this world and always will. From the outset, I have protested my innocence, and I'm grateful to my legal team for all their hard work and fighting for the right verdict today. But my life is over. I died the day I lost my Anaya. Nothing will ever take that pain away.
Aileen Clark, Reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
The First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, says one of her ministers made the right decision when he resigned from her government after conceding his behaviour had been inappropriate. Meanwhile, the SNP's Westminster leader said the person who lodged the complaint against MacDonald was now satisfied with the steps taken. This from our political editor, Brian Taylor.
This is MacDonald as Children's Minister launching the Baby Box project. It emerged today that he quit over inappropriate text messages.
Before I turn to Marie's appointment...
At Holyrood today, Nicola Sturgeon put forward Marie Todd as his ministerial successor, with a word about Mr MacDonald's resignation.
However, as John Swinney said last week, politics must set the highest of standards. He urged men in particular to reflect on their behaviour, and Mark has done that. Mark's departure was not in a manner that anyone would have wished, but it was the right decision.
I call on Jackson Carlo. Presiding Officer, the circumstances attending this ministerial resignation do not require editorial comment in the Chamber from me this afternoon. I note only, on behalf, I hope, of us all, that this is the most depressing ministerial resignation in our relatively short history.
Mark MacDonald is out of government office but remains MSP for Aberdeen Donside. The SNP's Westminster leader said the two issues were different.
Well, as far as I understand, and bear in mind I'm not aware of the circumstances around Mark's case, but from what I understand that case is now closed. I believe that the person that came forward with the allegations is now satisfied with the action that has been taken.
I may congratulate the Minister on her appointment.
At Holyrood, Marie Todd was duly installed as a new minister, receiving congratulations all round. But questions still remain about her predecessor. Brian Taylor, reporting Scotland, Holyrood.
The former chief executive of Edinburgh's tram company said they were held to ransom by the project contractors. Richard Jeffrey told an inquiry into the Trams project, which was delayed by years and over budget, said the contract to bring trams back to Edinburgh was commercially absurd. Maura Kinneber reports.
Bringing trams back to Edinburgh took far longer than planned and ran £400 million over budget. The man who took charge mid-crisis said incomplete designs and ambiguities in the contract underlay many of the problems and allowed the contractors to hold them to ransom.
The real issue was that it was a cost-plus contract with no agreed programme, no agreed cost, no certainty, and more importantly, at this point, the consortium had the control of the design. So they could design whatever they wanted and say, here's the bill at the end of it. And there would be no way of managing or predicting what the outcome would be.
He felt the tram contract was absurd, complex and confusing. When the contractor asked for more money for changes in the project and Thai refused, both sides went to court over that contract. Mr Jeffrey conceded it was fairly catastrophic to lose, and he accepted adopting a commercially aggressive strategy had not succeeded.
There was genuine shock that the adjudicator should find this, and that was clearly quite a major confidence blow to our legal arguments.
In one of the most visible disputes, contractors refused to carry on work in Princess Street until they were paid more.
The important thing is all the work that remains to be done can be done without closing Princess Street.
In fact, Princess Street was dug up again. Mr Jeffrey felt the Scottish Government should have kept Transport Scotland on one of the boards overseeing the trams, since it was funding 80% of the scheme. The inquiry continues. Maura Kinneber, reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
One of Scotland's biggest companies is splitting itself up and plans to merge with one of its biggest rivals. Perth-based SSE supplies electricity and gas to millions of households throughout Britain. However, the planned merger with npower raises questions about thousands of jobs and its impact on consumers. Here's our business and economy editor, Douglas Fraser.
Power from the Glens. The Hydro Board has been changing the shape of the Highlands for 70 years. Privatised, then Scottish and Southern Energy, now SSE. It's one of Scotland's big business performers and one of Britain's big 6 energy suppliers. Today, another big move. Here's what's being proposed. SSE now has units for generating power for the cables and pipes distributing it, and a department selling to customers. It wants to split its retail business from the rest and merge it with German-owned npower, another of the big 6. Together they would supply 11.5 million homes and business customers. They now employ more than 15,000 people. The overlap means there will be fewer jobs.
We think by being more efficient as an organisation, being able to competitively price better, and also in the future develop new products and propositions to meet customers' needs today, but also in the future that's good for competition. It gives variety, it gives opportunity.
This reflects a lot of turmoil in the energy sector. The way we make and use energy is changing to a future with electric cars, more solar panels, smart meters and home-based storage.
And these companies are facing public and political pressure over profits while prices rise. There could be a price cap, there could be nationalisation. Newcomers to the markets are poaching customers from the big 6, and there could be new firms still to come.
Taking on the big corporates, the Scottish Government recently announced plans to set up an energy supplier. Yet while creating such a big joint venture may not find favour with a competition watchdog, it'll be told customers could benefit.
From the perspective of NPR customers, the issues that they've had in billing previously, then this could be a positive step. Certainly if the result of this merger is better service and more efficiency in terms of providing that service to customers, and then that could be a positive thing.
For retail employees, this brings uncertainty, but what remains at the Perth headquarters? The generating company investing in renewable sources of energy. Douglas Fraser, reporting Scotland.
It's a year since Donald Trump's election as US President, and given his Scottish business interests and his family heritage, it could have been a big opportunity for us to strengthen ties with America. But have the controversies that have surrounded this half-Scottish president made it difficult to capitalise on the connection? Here's our political correspondent, Glenn Campbell.
Not everyone in America knows of Donald Trump's Scottish roots. Not even at these Highland Games in Virginia.
Did you know that your president is half Scottish?
I did not.
So his mum was from the Isle of Lewis?
I'm on a Trump-free weekend.
Oh. Did you know that President Trump is half Scottish?
Are you serious?
Yeah, his mum was born and raised on the Isle of Lewis.
I love Donald Trump, so that just makes everything so much better.
No previous resident here has had such a close family tie to Scotland.
Donald Trump is Scottish enough to qualify for our national football team, yet he's drawn far more protest than praise in the country of his ancestors.
Where he now owns 2 golf courses.
But anyone else, by golly, would have been rolling out the red carpet and, just touting the fact that he had such a close relationship and had been a major investor here. But, the brand is toxic. There's no two ways about it.
Donald Trump was dropped as a business ambassador for Scotland by the First Minister when he proposed a ban on Muslims entering the United States. Our leading politicians opposed his run for office.
The good people of America will send Donald Trump packing, and we should all rejoice when that happens.
It was very unseemly. It's not what you do.
So might there be consequences?
You'd have to ask the president, but he has a very, very long memory.
Meaning?
He doesn't forget stuff.
The Prime Minister was quick to offer Donald Trump a state visit to the UK. And if that includes Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon has said she'd be prepared to meet him.
I think in these international relationships, it is perfectly possible to take a very strong stance and have a strong opinion on what somebody is saying or doing and still be able to have a dialogue with them. I think the First Minister has spoken to the President and congratulated him since he was elected. I think she knows how to conduct herself in that office.
But President Trump's biographer warns against getting too close.
Does anyone have any choice but to hold Donald Trump at arm's length? He sullies everything that he comes in contact with. You cannot do business with this person and come out whole.
With 2 Scottish golf courses, President Trump will probably be back at some point. But the warmest of welcomes is not guaranteed.
Remember, Trump's a nice guy.
Glenn Campbell, reporting Scotland.
And staying with Donald Trump and with golf, in the last hour or so, it's emerged that the special scientific status of the area where Donald Trump built his golf course in Aberdeenshire is under review. BBC Scotland has learned Scottish Natural Heritage says the many golf course has caused habitat loss and damage to the dune system. The Environmental Agency is assessing the scale of the impact to decide whether all or parts of the site should lose their special status. Meanwhile, you can see more on Glenn Campbell's documentary, Donald Trump, Scotland's President, which is on tomorrow night on BBC One at 9 o'clock. A law is expected to be passed this week which will mean all council-run school buses in Scotland will have to be fitted with seatbelts. Around half of Scotland's local authorities currently demand they're installed. If the bill is passed tomorrow, though, it will only mean seatbelts have to be fitted, not worn. Rebecca Curran can tell us more.
Home time at Monwhitter Primary in Aberdeenshire, but the journey doesn't start for these pupils until they buckle up.
Yes, seatbelt on.
This bus is fitted with seatbelts because Aberdeenshire Council, like more than half of Scotland's local authorities, demands it.
If you didn't have a seatbelt in, you could go flying forward.
You could have an accident, and if you did have your seatbelt on, all you would do is really hurt your shoulders.
some children across Scotland, they don't have seatbelts on their school buses. What do you think about that?
That's dangerous for the children.
This MSP wants to make it law that all school transport has seatbelts fitted. Her bill will be debated in Parliament tomorrow.
At the moment we have a situation where it is variable around the country. Aberdeenshire Council, my council, is already doing it voluntarily. So I actually thought that the whole of the country did it. And then when I became elected, I realised that some didn't and it was a voluntary measure. So I want to make it law.
Just a wee update.
But some think it doesn't go far enough. A campaign group created after a school bus crash in Cumbernauld in February says seatbelts are only one aspect when it comes to improving safety.
I'd like to see the standard of buses get better. I'd like this 3-point seatbelts brought in. I would like to see, in terms of the council and SBT, better monitoring and vetting procedures for awarding of contracts.
If the law is passed tomorrow, it's hoped it can be implemented across the country next year. Rebecca Curran, reporting Scotland, Aberdeenshire.
It's just after 7:15, a reminder of tonight's main story. A mother has been acquitted of murdering her 14-month-old daughter. The jury found Sadia Ahmed not proven of smothering the toddler. And still to come, the Dutch football team arrive in Scotland ahead of tomorrow's friendly. Sir Andy Murray and his wife are celebrating the birth of their second daughter. The news emerged less than 24 hours after he played in a charity tennis event against Roger Federer in Glasgow. Katie Hunter reports.
Oh yes, he's really in character now.
Playing to the crowd, but keeping quiet about becoming a dad for the second time. Only a select few at last night's charity match knew Sir Andy Murray's wife Kim had given birth to a baby girl. Among them, Andy's gran, who was back in Dunblane this morning.
Delighted, of course, and all's well, which is the main thing, and lovely baby, and little playmate for Sophia, who I'm sure will be equally thrilled. Probably thinks it's a little teddy bear or something, but no, that's lovely.
These children in Dunblane have grown up watching Andy Murray's success. Their parents were among many people keen to congratulate the couple.
It's lovely news. It's nice to hear that Sophia's going to have a little sister.
Everybody's talking about it. I think it has been undercover for a wee while, but yeah, great news for the family and of course Dunblane as well.
Dunblane has already produced 2 tennis champions in Andy and brother Jamie. Hopes are high for another set of sibling stars.
Judy Murray's always been fantastic at inspiring girls and boys, so to have 2 girls with the genes that they have got, I'm sure we'll definitely have 2 stars.
Andy and Kim kept the news private for a couple of weeks. And as for the name...
No, don't interfere in that. No, not at all. No, I'm sure they've got that all worked out, so we'll find out this weekend.
Murray lost last night's friendly to Federer, but the 2-time Wimbledon champion now has 2 daughters to keep him busy. Katie Hunter, reporting Scotland.
Another new face now. Dundee United have a new manager. He's Csaba Laszlo from Hungary, who returns to Scottish football after 8 years since he left Hearts. He replaces Ray McKinnon, who was sacked last month. The new manager says his only target is getting United back to the Premiership. More from our sports reporter, David Curry.
Just a handshake, please, guys. Just pause for it. Looking at the cameras, will you?
A theatrical pressing of the flesh for the media. After all, they'd already shaken hands on the deal to make Csaba Laszlo the new Dundee United manager, with a simple remit.
We can talk really a lot about everything, about Dundee United, which history this club had. At the moment we have just one target. We have to move back to the Scottish Premier League.
That's where Laszlo plied his trade when he last worked in this country, leading Hearts to a third-place finish in the top division. 7 years on, he's back after working in Uganda, Lithuania and elsewhere. But what makes him the person for the job?
We talked to him about his man management skills, his tactics, etc. He's a tactician. I know his work ethic. I think a few people might get a surprise. He's a hard worker, long hours. Just a whole combination of things.
I try to be close to my players, explain the tactic, to work with them every day, even if it's necessary to make extra training.
Unusually for a new manager, Csaba Laszlo takes over a team near the top of the league table. Dundee United trailing championship leader St Mirren only by goal difference. His task is to get United back to the Premiership.
Last season we worked out not getting up. Getting up would have meant an extra 2.5 million income for the club this year. That's the difference between being in the Premiership and being in the Championship for a club like Dundee United. That's a lot of money. So it's tough financially as well.
This may or may not be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. The club chairman and new manager would probably settle for a fruitful working relationship and, of course, a return to the Premiership. David Curry, reporting Scotland, Tannadice, Dundee.
The interim Scotland football manager, Malky Mackay, said he would never pick players in a bid to sell tickets. He was responding to suggestions that the inclusion of 3 Aberdeen players in the squad for tomorrow's friendly with the Netherlands was done to boost the attendance at Pittodrie. Our senior football reporter, Chris McLaughlin, has more.
Early winter in Aberdeen, the surf is up, but there's a quiet, tranquil feel about the place. But that tranquility will be shattered here at Pittodrie tomorrow evening when Scotland take to the field. There were concerns about ticket sales being slow, but around 16,000 supporters are expected. That's despite fans still being bruised from the recent blow of missing out on World Cup qualification. Gordon Strachan has gone, step forward his interim replacement.
It's testament to the Tartan Army, I suppose. I've been there, seen it and done it in terms of watching them come abroad to watch me. So I think the fact that they're all going to be here tonight, tomorrow night, is I can only thank them for that.
New manager, new beginnings and new faces in the squad, and suggestions the local inclusions are simply there to boost the attendance.
They're all young, they're definitely all hungry, and all of them are talented. It's why they're in the squad, and as I say, it's why 2 or 3 are going to play, not to sell tickets.
You know, it's the manager who picks the team, and it's his prerogative. But certainly in training, everyone's been ready to go. The quality's been great, and it's a really good feeling as well. So it's a good blend.
Tomorrow night's opponents are also still smarting from missing out on Russia, and a familiar face has a warning.
As you know, there are no friendly games anymore.
No such thing as a friendly game.
Most teams like to win, and let's wait after the game who will be the best one.
A win won't ease the pain of missing out on the playoffs, but in sport, when you fall, getting back up can be the key. Chris McLaughlin, reporting Scotland, Aberdeen.
Well, here's a sporting inspiration. A powerlifter from Dumfries has defied the odds to smash a world record for his weight class. Competing in Moscow, Stuart Jameson lifted 286 kilograms. That's just over 45 stone and nearly 5 times his body weight. Not bad for someone who wasn't expected to live beyond his 2nd birthday. Willie Johnson reports.
Stuart Jameson was born with several crippling conditions, including spina bifida and curvature of the spine. His condition was so severe, doctors said life expectancy was around 2 years. But Stuart defied their prediction, and then those who cautioned against him taking up first boxing and then weightlifting as a teenager.
I got into this to prove that I could do more than what they thought I could. The worry was that it would only make my conditions and my disabilities worse, and in actual fact it did the opposite. It vastly improved the quality of my life.
Stuart began winning almost immediately and progressed quickly to the international stage. He competes quite deliberately against able-bodied athletes rather than in para-competitions.
Not for any political stand, not for any fighting for any type of justice. It's purely for the fact that why wouldn't I? I can, so I will.
Now aged 28, Stuart is just back from his greatest triumph to date in Moscow. Competing in the under 60 kilogram weight class, the diminutive strongman deadlifted 286 kilos, a world record. Now he's eyeing a new target.
I'm looking to break the pound for pound biggest deadlift in the world that's ever been lifted before. I want to be the first man that's ever lifted just short of 5 1/4 times body weight, about 320 kilos.
At just 5 feet tall and around 9 stones soaking wet, Stuart aims to be recognised as one of the best, if most unlikely powerlifters the world has ever seen. Willie Johnston, reporting Scotland, Dumfries.
Time for the weather now, and those looking skywards had a treat last night. Christopher, tell us more, please.
Didn't they just? The Northern Lights, have you ever seen them?
No, I'd love to.
Me either.
Love to.
Very jealous. Thank you very much indeed. Fantastic display of the Aurora Borealis last night. Lovely picture here from one of our weather watchers in Murray. Check out this one from the shores of Loch Lomond. So not that far out of Glasgow, really, but totally different tonight. Certainly weather-wise, it's cloudy, wet and quite windy. Most of that rain fairly light and patchy, but the winds will be strong around the west coast and gusting to gale force across the far north. But through the early hours, the cloud and the rain starts to clear, and there is a chance again of seeing the Northern Lights, but you probably need to be north of this yellow smudge where the skies will be clearest. But despite the skies clearing, not as cold as last night. Temperatures around 5 to 8 Celsius, perhaps low single digits in the countryside. So to tomorrow, and doesn't look too bad weather-wise. Generally dry, fine and bright for most of us, but not all. You'll see showers across the far north there. But for many, it's a cold start, but a bright, sunny one, and it stays that way with a moderate westerly driving in some cloud at times. Further north, those winds still strong, and there will be a rash of showers. So by mid-afternoon, largely dry, fine and bright, temperatures 9 to 11 Celsius. And whilst we have those moderate westerly breezes, if you're out of the wind, it should feel okay. Further north, though, up towards parts of Inverness, the northwest in general, the far north, the Northern Isles, a rash of showers here, quite blustery in nature because those winds strong and still gusting to gale force at times across Orkney and Shetland, perhaps even the odd rumble of thunder in the mix too. Rest of the afternoon into the evening, those showers start to drift their way southwards, and at the same time an area of rain just creeping in towards the southwest. So tomorrow night, a spell of rain for some of us, pretty much almost anywhere really. And then for Friday, well, subtle change in wind direction coming in from the northwest, so that's going to feed in further showers and also some colder air. So here's Friday, some sunshine, but fairly frequent showers. This wind's still strong, still gale force across the far north, and some of those showers wintry down to around 400 metres. So if you're driving over higher parts of the A9, you might see some sleet or some wet snow. And Saturday is similar. Windy from the northwest, quite a cold feel, a number of showers around, but equally some sunshine, probably driest and brightest across the far south and southeast. That's the forecast for now.
Thank you, Christopher. And now a reminder of tonight's main news. Priti Patel's position as International Development Secretary looks increasingly uncertain after several unauthorised meetings with Israeli politicians. She's been summoned to Downing Street this evening after cutting short an official trip to Africa. And a mother has been acquitted of murdering her 14-month-old daughter. The jury found Sadia Ahmed not proven on the charge of smothering the toddler. And that's Reporting Scotland. From everyone on the Tea Time team, good evening.